Hello, everybody. This is Football Psych, and I'm Coach Mad Mike.
And it's Lord Sarge. Welcome to our first live stream. Woo!
Yes, we are premiering. This is our very first live stream, and we are so happy for those who are able to join in on us, and we are only going to move up and grow from here. And we are so happy for those that are already on board with us, and we are looking forward. We are looking forward to everything that we can possibly do moving forward with this channel. I will tell you, I'm very, very excited about doing a live stream. This is something we've been talking for a while now. So I am just ecstatic about where we're going to go from here. All right,
Mike,
so
where's my chat box?
It's a good question. I am not sure. So everybody bear with us because I'm not sure where these things are at. You're going to have to look for it there, Large Sarge. Good old technical difficulties from the very, very beginning. So you might even have to look at it from the observer viewpoint and see if you can get into it there to be able to text.
That's where I'm going.
All right. That way you can engage with whatever fans that we have on there right now. But there should be a live bar chat that shows up, and look forward to see who we might have.
Yeah. Coach Man Mike, I ain't got nobody.
I have nobody either, but we will move on with the show. All right, so and we will post this thing for everybody's viewing pleasure. All right, so the Commanders edition. So right here for it, we are doing our premiere live that we've been talking about for a couple of weeks. And we are going to go over a couple of different things. What's important to us is the fans' perspectives. So if you are watching this show pre-recorded, then go ahead and please join us in future live streams. We will do this every Monday night at 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern. And that way, because we want to hear your perspectives, your comments on what it is that you like or dislike about what's going on with this football team. And your opinions matter more to us than anything. We also talk about the status of where the Washington Commanders are post the mandatory minicamps. And we're so excited about that. We also are going to be discussing with the latest things that have come out now with the Commanders ratings from Madden 25 as that comes out. So, Large Sarge, were you able to get that chat box? Were you able to see it? All right, so we are running. And the first up is the 2024 schedule for the Washington Commanders. This is out there. It's public. I will be with my wife in Tampa Bay for the first actual game that's going on for the Washington Commanders. And we will be in Tampa watching that one on the road. And then we will all come back to the D.C. area. Lord Sarge, you, me, Shaq, we'll all be at the game against the New York Giants.
Oh, yeah.
On September, our first home game. We will be there for that. Very excited to see that. And before we start heading to Monday Night Football in Cincinnati, I probably will not be at that game. But we will talk as the season goes on about which games we will be at. And we would love to be able to interact with you guys if you guys are going to those games.
Absolutely. I can't wait to be there with you, Coach Mad Mike. I think I'm even coming down to Tampa Bay to see the first game with you.
Okay, well, bring it on. So the current offseason schedule, we are finished with mandatory minicamp schedule. So we are now moving full speed ahead towards training camp, which will be starting on the 27th of July to the 19th of August. That's when they start putting pads on and they start going after it. Between now and then, now that the minicamp the mandatory minicamp is complete, they're taking a bunch of time off between now and then. But believe me, a lot of players are going to be hitting the gym, working out, still working together when they can get together on their own time. And they'll all be moving forward to preseason that will launch after training camp is well underway. And the first game that they have is Saturday, August 10th against the New York Jets. And the one on the 17th against the Miami Dolphins is interesting because they're also going to have joint workout programs with the Dolphins. in preparation for that game. So a lot of stuff that's going on. Very, very excited to see what goes on with that.
It's going to be fantastic.
Excuse everybody. I have a little bit of a cough that's been sticking with me for about 5 or 6 days now. And me scuba diving on the side probably doesn't help it. But I will tell you.
Congratulations to Coach Mad Mike for becoming a certified scuba diver.
Has absolutely nothing to do with football. But yeah, thank you. I appreciate that, Large Sarge. But it probably does not help my cough.
Let's see if I have a emoticon for a swimmer. I have no idea. This is nature, birthday cakes, activities. Wait a minute. There's got to be a diver in here somewhere. We got to put an emoticon up to celebrate. You're a diving man now. No, we got a football icon. We'll post that one.
All right. Yeah,
folks, again, we're here live. We want to hear questions. We want to hear your opinions about how the Commanders are doing. We want to hear what you think about Jaden Daniels. We want to hear what you think about not having an offensive tackle. We want to hear from you.
Yeah, I tell you guys, and you know what? I know that all of you watching Commanders, and like maybe you're Madden players, or maybe you're not. And if you're not, it's okay. But occasionally we're going to talk about Madden. We're going to be talking about football, the college football game that came out too, College Football 25. Because, you know, it's kind of interesting take on our team. And, you know, and if you're into that, then I find these ratings to be somewhat interesting because I like playing the game too of what we have besides just watching our team play football. So one of the things we have is the Madden 25 ratings are starting to hit the streets. You can check these things out by going to MaddenRatings.com. And at MaddenRatings.com, you can go there and check on your favorite team. Most of you who are on here should be Commanders fans. And this is a snapshot of the top 10 players. Not overly impressive ratings. Across the board, I would say everybody's rating is about 4 points lower than expected. So I don't know if that's Madden just kind of dropping back to ratings or whatever. But it looks like we have one X Factor and 2 superstars that are on there. Jonathan Allen, the only X Factor we have, and then Terry McLaurin and Austin Eckler being the superstar players that they have. No player rated in the elite level, which is 90 or above. Highest rated players we have are 89 rated, which is Jonathan Allen and Terry McLaurin, followed by Bobby Wagner at 88. And 80 and above players only in the top 10. The 11th player on the list is at number 79, which I find to be really, really shocking. So even though I think the team's overall improved across the board, not really on the high elite level. Mm-hmm. So by not having anybody there. So that's kind of it's kind of interesting. All right. Moving on to the Bleacher Report. Bleacher Report, how good is our offensive line?
Oh, boy.
Right? So I found this Bleacher Report to be somewhat interesting because I've been highly skeptical about our offensive line. We've had a lot of discussion recently about the left tackle position. The left tackle position is one position that I think is somewhat interesting because, okay, we drafted Brandon Coleman. We re-signed the guy that we had, Cornelius Lucas. We re-signed Cornelius Lucas. He's probably a backup at best, and I don't think Brandon Coleman is really ready to go yet. I think he's a development. He's a project. He has potential for the future.
Agreed.
But we might throw him to the wolves and expect him to survive against defensive ends as a left tackle position early on, which might be extremely difficult for him to live up to. But we're going to do that. And so I find the Bleacher Report pretty interesting because even though we rebuilt this offensive line, it's still highly suspect according to Bleacher Report. It says new center Tyler Biadasz. I can't really pronounce his name. The guy we got from Dallas.
Biadasz.
All right. And also Sam Cosme, who is our guy, right? He's our Pro Bowl caliber right guard who's going to be in a contract year. Are probably the only offensive linemen on the squad proven to be at least average starters, according to the Bleacher Report. The rest, left tackle Cornelius Lucas, left guard Nick Agretti, and right tackle Andrew Wiley are all replacement level or worse level players. Whoa!
Hey, Coach Mad Mike.
Yes.
Sending a shout out to us.
All right. Well, shout out to you there, Shaq. Thank you for your support. Wish you could be here with us.
Even though he couldn't be on the show tonight, he's tuning in. He's driving. So
Yes.
we appreciate Shaq being out there.
All right, Shaq, we love you, brother, man. Drive safely, and we hope you have you here on the show here shortly. So, but thank you for the shout out, brother. All right, so the offensive line being as suspect as it is tells me that Jane Daniels is going to be running for his life. He's going to be running for his life just like Sam Howell did. And that's not a good formula for a rookie quarterback. So we will see. We will see if the Bleacher Report is right or if that coaching staff, the brand new coaching staff over there, is whipping these guys into shape and that they're better than advertised, I guess. However, they make a recommendation. And this is not a recommendation far from what we've been recommending here on Football Psych, that we need to go out and get another left tackle. And we talked about Donovan Smith. As a matter of fact, Shaq really likes Donovan Smith as a potential guy. We've talked about David Bakhtiari, which Large Sarge and I have been kind of high on, assuming his ankles
Coach
are
Mad
all
Mike, why don't we just pick up Bakhtiari? What's the news on him? Talk to me about this one. I just don't understand why we didn't get him.
Well, he's been medically cleared for about 3 weeks. I don't know what the deal.
Right. What's the
sometimes
problem?
The reason sometimes the reason is because when someone's been medically cleared, that doesn't mean that they're in football shape. And so sometimes, players that are veteran caliber like that, they want to hit the gym and they want to get up to true form before they show up so they don't embarrass themselves. Right? So he could be taking time and go, you know what? There's time. Like training camp doesn't start for another month. Let me get my game on. Let me get it on. And I can maybe sign with somebody before training camp.
Hey, Coach Mad Mike. All American Street Rides has logged into the channel.
All right. Well, welcome, guys. We sure appreciate your support out there. Good to see you guys.
Hey, folks, if you don't know who they are, you need to go to www.allamericanstreetrides.com and check out what they do. They're amazing.
All right.
So first question, Coach Mad Mike.
Sure.
Shaq wants to know from Journey of a You-Know-Who, but says, I think Adam Peters has something up his sleeve. Could they have been waiting for the UFL season to end? What do you say to that?
Oh, that's a very good question, and I appreciate the question there, Shaq. I do think that he does have several things up his sleeve. You're right. Players that prior to the playoff bracket were available as unrestricted free agents a couple of weeks ago. This past weekend, they got past the basically their conference championship round, and it freed up a lot of guys like Blake. That we were Jake Blake, the kicker that I thought the Commanders are going to sign, most likely the Lions are going to sign. So a lot of these players are becoming now available to be signed. That could be the case. We did sign one kicker already, which we will talk about. We have another kicker from the UFL that we will most likely sign again. Outside of the kicker arena, I haven't heard too much buzz about who the Commanders might be wanting to pursue. But it is an interesting take on it. So I appreciate the question. I think it's a great question because, I would look for those who lead the league in tackles, led the league in sacks, led the league in rushing yards. Who is the best wide receiver? When you start looking at those types of players, they're going to get invited to camps for sure. What do you think there, Large Sarge?
So Shaq would like to know, he says, I do like Donovan Smith, but at what cost? I think Bakhtiari would be a deal due to his age.
Yeah, and I think so too. I think that's all relevant because if you look at what Adam Peters has done over the past, ever since he's been hired, right? He hasn't broken the bank on any one player, right? He has gotten basically bargain deals for every single player that he signed. He shopped around for the best value for the dollar that you can get to build a team. He also knew he was going to build through the draft, so he was putting together a solid football team that he felt was well-rounded, that would work together and start gelling as a team and establishing what he would call the new core of this team. And in order to do that, you can't go out and break the bank on guys. And so I think that's the reason why he went and go and re-sign guys like Kendall Fuller to a big contract or Cameron Curl to a big contract. Right. Let those guys walk and then bring in guys as you're going to build a program that's sustainable for a long term. And when he went out to get vets like Bobby Wagner, I think Bobby Wagner had paid him like $8.1 million. That was like the biggest contract that he signed. Everybody else was playing for like $5 million, $4 million per year. No real big contracts. So that's going to be the other issue with a guy like Donovan Smith because he probably wants a lot larger of a contract.
Right.
Also, the thing about Adam Peters is he signed these guys to short-term contracts. A majority of these contracts are one-year contracts. Let me see what you have, and if you don't pan out, I'm not bringing you back next year. You got 1 year to see if you're going to be the future of this team, or are you just a stopgap this year until I can draft somebody else?
Hey, Coach Mad Mike.
Yeah.
Shaq wants to know where's the lost tackle. He thinks
where's the lost tackle?
He thinks
I think
he
he's on
needs
IR.
the 53-man roster. Shaq, I have an update for you. He got injured in OTAs, and there'll be a video coming. He's gonna say goodbye, so he's out of the running because of how he got injured, but it's coming to you. So we'll post it for you, buddy.
He tripped over himself or something. I don't know what the heck's going on with that guy, but that's good. That's a great question. So I will tell you that when it comes to David Bakhtiari, Donovan Smith, J.D. Humphries, any of these guys that we're going to bring in another left tackle, I think it's going to boil down to last minute before training camp starts. This is going to be a July deal. This is not going to happen this month. These guys are going to take some much needed rest, time off, and these guys have injuries, right? So I like Donovan Smith. I'm kind of in agreement with Shaq on this one. Like, I think he would be a really good fit. He's probably the healthiest of the bunch, but he's probably going to hold out for big money. We're not going to be willing to pay it. So it's kind of like a standoff between him and the rest of the league on who's going to sign this guy because he's going to want to get paid. Bakhtiari, he's probably going to get himself in football shape, and he's probably going to be more affordable. But don't expect that deal to happen for another month. Right now, the plan is at left tackle, Coleman is most likely the outcome to win the starting job, which I think will be horrendous. He's going to try hard, but throwing him to the wolves like that, I don't think is fair, honestly. I think he could be a really good talent, but I would really like to see him develop for a year or two behind somebody who's really good, not go out there and get smoked like he's going to get if he is the week one starter.
So, Coach Mad Mike, Shaq is saying that he thinks Adam Peters is doing short contracts to reinstall a winning culture, and that the team has been bad for so long that we're in a win now situation. That's his opinion. Win
now situation. Wow, that's a really interesting perspective too. I do like the win now perspective if it's true. You certainly don't bring in guys like Zach Ertz and Bobby Wagner and some of these long veterans to say, hey, listen, we fully intend on losing because we're rebuilding.
Exactly, right?
Right. So
this is win now.
You bring them in to win, and you're like, hey, we want to instill a winning culture. We want you to help us win. And we also want to bring these guys in with the idea that they can win. We want people who are hungry. We want people to do that. And we'll see if it works because that's going to be very, very interesting to see, what happens if we start losing games back to back and you start getting close to the trade deadline. I know Shaq had talked about that before. Jonathan Allen could be a guy who goes, I want to leave, right? And people could start wanting to leave. We certainly don't want that to happen. We want to be able to build our program, not lose quality guys. We already lost a couple quality guys, or at least one for sure, in Montez Sweat before the trade deadline last year. Mm-hmm. We don't want any more of that.
So, hey, Coach Mad Mike, let me push out a thank you to Shaq, who's known on YouTube for the Journey of a Jackass podcast, and all of his fans. We want to thank him for dialing in tonight and paying attention to our first live stream. Shout out to you, Shaq. We appreciate it. We're sorry we couldn't have you on the show tonight, but we'll catch you here in a couple weeks or so when you get free. But we want to thank you and all your subs out there for dialing into us. Please pump more questions to Coach Mad Mike. Coach Mad Mike is ready to answer all your Commanders questions.
You can say Redskins. It's okay. Redskins is not a bad word.
You know what I'm saying. It's Commanders, but it's Redskins.
It's Redskins.
Please jump online here and ask us some questions about the team, what you might think about Jaden Daniels, what you might think about what's going on in the news, what you might think about all the trades we made, how we're going to do in the division this year. Will we beat Philly? Will we beat Dallas? Bring us your questions.
I tell you what, though, when I do look at the division, and we did a divisional outlook that will get posted here either later tonight or tomorrow. We already filmed that earlier today. I will tell you, I believe that the Philadelphia Eagles are the team to beat within this division. And I know it pains me to say that, but I think the number 2 team in there is probably us above the Dallas Cowboys. But I think we're going to be extremely hard pressed to try to make a playoff push out of that. But if we are in the win now mode, like Shaq says, if we are in the win now mode and we are capable of pulling things together, Janie Daniels doesn't get slaughtered from a bad offensive line, and we're able to get the ball moving, and defensively, Bobby Wagner's leadership is able to kind of police all that up, and this coaching staff works, and everything starts trending in the right direction, there's a chance. There's a chance for a wild card spot in here. I don't think we could beat Philly for the division title, but I think we can have a shot at a playoff spot, and that would be huge for this franchise.
Coach Man Mike, I'm gonna beg to differ with you. I'm gonna be the outside opinion. I'm gonna say,
outside opinion where you're the inside guy.
I'm just gonna say, the Commanders have made so many changes and so many improvements, and the attitude is so high. I mean, as bad as we were last year, we took Philly to task at home and in Philly. Those games were within a score of winning. I'm calling this, Coach Man Mike. The Skins this year, the Commanders, are going to beat Philly at least one game. I'm calling
I agree with that.
We're going to beat the Giants twice, and we should beat the Cowboys twice. I'm saying, on paper, the way it looks right now, with the attitude, with how Daniels is doing in OTAs and training camp and all this other stuff, and all the hype, it's all hype. I get it. But on paper, this team should get into the playoffs.
Oh,
wow. They should get a wild card slot. They should.
So we will see about that. I mean, certainly it's going to all come down to this guy, I think. Jane Daniels just signed his 4-year contract, his rookie contract, for $37.75 million, and in 100%, all of it is guaranteed money.
That is
guaranteed.
Insanity.
Woo! Now for a quarterback, yeah, but you know what? Like for a real starting quarterback in the NFL right now, that is like the average per year.
Hey, so, LB4. Wait a minute. We got to come in from LB4. Playoffs? What do you mean playoffs? Yes, I'm saying playoffs. Right, LB4. Playoffs.
He's got the Jim Mora quote going on, so yeah. I love it. Outstanding. But yeah, playoffs. Yeah. So hey, Lartzart said that. I'm not saying that. I've been saying this for several weeks, as everybody can contend to. I say 8 wins, and when I said 8 wins to numerous people over the past many weeks, everybody squirms when I say 8 wins. There's like maybe 7. Well, listen, if you're only 7 or 8, you're not a playoff team.
Yeah, I
know. If you're saying playoffs, you're talking you better get that 9th win out of there somewhere.
Coach Mad Mike,
I don't know if it's there.
Listen, Coach Mad Mike, well, all the hype and the new coaching staff, everything that's going on, I mean, and as bad as Dallas has gotten, as bad as the Giants have gotten, the only people that improved were the Eagles. We should have 5 divisional games. I mean, we should lock out the Giants. We should lock out the Cowboys, and we should at least beat Philly once. That's 5 divisional games.
Cowboys are still tough offensively and defensively. I think they're on the verge of imploding, but I think that will happen because they won't reach the playoffs this year. So, I mean, Dallas next year, in my opinion, is going to be in rebuild mode because here's about our rival, the Dallas Cowboys, right? They are going to struggle. They are going to struggle, and when they struggle, McCarthy's going to get fired. CeeDee Lamb is going to want a mega deal, and Jerry Jones will not want to re-sign him. Dak Prescott's going to want a mega deal, and Jerry Jones is not going to want to re-sign him. And Micah Parsons is going to be up for a contract in the offseason.
You're right.
He's going to want to make a deal, and they're going to try everything to keep him, but he might not stay. If this team falls apart.
I got LB4 coming back to us here. He's saying, you know what? Good luck to the Skins. The Skins will be the sleeper team in the East, and I agree with him on that one. He says the Ravens will give the Eagles a beat down for you this year, and yes, the Cowboys on the verge of a rebuild. That's what LB4 says. And Shaq came back and said the NFC playoff teams, Philly, San Fran, Detroit, Seattle, with Sam Howell starting. Shaq is calling them starting. The Rams, Green Bay, and then Atlanta. Ooh, he's got Atlanta, Shaq does.
Yeah, so I mean, if you go by that lineup, which I think is pretty accurate, I probably would say it's about the same. Then what you have there is you have the Commanders not making it in. So and with Dallas definitely not making it in, you definitely know McCarthy's getting fired.
Yeah.
So I would completely agree. The Cowboys are probably going to be fighting their butt off this year, but they're going to come up way short. And when they come up way short, believe me, Jerry Jones is not going to pull out the checkbook, and that team will be in rebuild mode.
Coach Mad Mike, if they get rid of McCarthy, who do you think is next in line for head coach?
Probably Bill Belichick.
I was gonna say, it was gonna come out of my mouth. I was gonna say, do you think Belichick? And I was like, no, I'm not gonna say that because it's stupid. Wait a minute. You think if McCarthy's out, Belichick could take the Cowboys?
Yeah, I do. But here's the thing that's going to be very intriguing.
Shocked.
It's going to be interesting on how the front office works, because Jerry Jones likes to make the player personnel calls, but Bill Belichick likes to make the personnel calls. So it depends on how they work well together or not. Will determine whether or not that deal goes through or not. I think it's like the pinnacle place for him to go. Like, where do you go after New England if you still want to coach? To me, as much as it painstakes me to say America's team, like that's kind of like the Jerry Jones iconic kind of place to play in Dallas is like a job that coaches aspire to go get, right? So, would I take it? No. But like, it's only because I'm a deep. It's only because I bleed burgundy and gold.
Yeah. Shaq has come back and said Micah Parsons is going to be the highest paid defensive player in the league. If the Cowboys are no good this year, because he's gonna go into free agency.
Yeah, and I will tell you,
agree with that, don't you? You agree with that?
I 100% agree with that. And I tell you what, the team to watch in that scenario is the Washington Commanders. Micah Parsons loves Dan Quinn, like loves him. And I will tell you, Bobby Wagner is probably a one and done. Like he's probably going to go into retirement mode. So we're going to want to look for a replacement for Bobby Wagner next year. Maybe Bobby's got another year in him, whoever. But like, what a great person to bring in after that would be Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
And would we have the salary cap to do it? You bet you would, because if you actually look at our salary cap situation, like right now we're at about $43 million, but our projected for next year is over $80 million. So we could sign Micah Parsons if he hits free agency. And believe me, Micah Parsons would probably have his agent be on the phone with Adam Peters quickly.
Oh boy. Oh, that'd be dangerous. Shaq is saying Bill Belichick won't work in Dallas because he doesn't like spending the money on players and he doesn't care about the names. He's going to find a cheap D3 player, and that's not the Jerry Jones way. And I'm going to take Shaq's side on this one. I agree. There ain't no way Bill Belichick's coming in because he wants too much power. He's got a 26-year-old girlfriend now. He thinks he's on top of the world at 76 years old. Ain't no way he's going to listen to Jerry Jones. He's going to come into Dallas and run his own show. So that ain't going to happen.
Hey, when you could be dating a daughter that's old enough to be your granddaughter, I mean, hey, good on you, bro. And there's hope
for me yet. There's hope for me yet.
You got to be careful, man. She doesn't give you like cardiac arrest, but like, hey, if you got to go out, that's the way to go out, right?
Ain't no way Belichick is going to play second fiddle to Jerry Jones. I just don't see that happening, Coach Mad Mike.
Yeah, I think they either have to have a cooperative relationship where they're able to work together, or it's not going to work, right?
What do you mean cooperative? Belichick's gonna say, "Give me the entire team. I don't want it from the top down." Jerry's gonna say, "Nope, I'm the man." They ain't, that's fire and water right there.
You'd be surprised. Like I would not rule it out. I would
Hmm?
not rule it out at all
Okay.
because I will tell you, Jerry Jones, he's getting up there in age, and he's getting a lot more intolerant of player salaries. Like he might be at a
Yeah,
position where he's just like, you know what, I probably need somebody else to take this headache because, like, he doesn't. He's getting tired.
he caused it. He's part of the cause.
Well, the thing is
Salaries are out of whack all over the place.
Well, here's Jerry Jones' perspective because I've watched a few of his interviews. He's at a point right now where he is so frustrated with how bloated contracts have gotten that, like, every time someone's up for a contract, they want to be the highest paid person in the league.
Right. Of course.
And you have a salary cap. So if you go and you chase one good player and you break the bank with them, you've got a lot of holes on your football team. And I will tell you, teams are going to study a guy like Adam Peters. Like Adam Peters right now is being hailed as one of the top general managers already, and he just started. But because of what he did on signing all the free agents in Washington and not breaking the bank, teams are going to take notice to that. I mean, you guys tell me. We got several viewers on now. Tell me what you think. I mean, do you think like
well, you know, Brad Holmes in Detroit did kind of the same thing last 2 years.
I mean, when you look at Ayuk out there at San Francisco, they already told him that, hey, we don't necessarily want him back, but he wants to be one of the highest paid wide receivers, if not the number one. And I don't think anybody's going to take that because you also got to give up draft capital to go get him. Would everybody love to have him on our team? Absolutely. Can anybody afford him? I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's difficult.
Welcome Ginger Turnbull to the live cast. They're on now.
All right. Well, welcome.
Shout out to you.
Glad to have you on board. All right. So the other big signing that we had is, you know, basically we signed all of our draft picks. But this one I found is an interesting deal. Our second round pick, Johnny Newton. I was a little skeptical about this on draft day when it happened because, you know, I was really big, as you remember, Large Sarge, of trading it back into the first round and getting a good offensive tackle. Right. And we missed the boat on that one. And then I know they jumped on him just because he was the best available player on the board, and a lot of people are in love with Johnny Newton. But he had a surgery on one foot, then turned around, and after we drafted him, just came out of surgery a few weeks ago on his other foot with the same similar issue. So both of his feet have been operated on. He's back on his feet. He's out of a boot. He's looking good.
2 feet. This boy had 2 feet surgery.
You said 2 feet?
2 feet. He had both feet operated on.
Oh my goodness, man. We got to work on your English, brother. So we signed him to a 4-year, almost $10 million deal. But, you know, it's interesting to see how when somebody has an injury, how more complicated a deal can be structured.
Yeah.
Because typically you start talking a little bit more about like injury guarantees and practice bonuses and signing and this, that, and another. And so I have all the details there. I don't want to deep dive it in too much unless somebody has a blaring question about that. But like for me, I kind of get into it a little bit because I'm just like, okay, so what does this mean? Because when I see a player like that who has an injury history, he's either going to be extremely good where you're going to be like, oh man, we got a steal here. This guy was a top 15 overall kind of grade that fell to the second round because of injuries, and we got him for a steal. Or he's going to be like, he's so broke, like, oh, we just blew a second round pick. Like, there's usually not an in the middle.
Yeah.
Right? He's either going to be great, which we all hope he is. Like, yes, we hope that he is. Or he's going to be a bust, and we just blew a second rounder when we should have moved back in the first round to get a
absolutely.
Tackle.
Hey, Coach Mike, got to send a shout out to Serenity Turnbull for joining the channel. Thank you, Serenity, for supporting us. We appreciate you.
All right. Well, we appreciate you joining the show. All right. Please let me know if you guys have questions. All right. So what does that mean for the Washington Commanders? Washington Commanders right now have locked up their entire 24 draft class, which is huge. We are a month out from training camp. There's a lot of teams out there that are not in this position. They are working over the next 30 days to try to get everybody signed. But we are one of the few teams that have everybody signed. And so, like, people can clear the building, take some time off. Maybe the general manager and his staff are still sticking around because they're trying to figure out what they're going to do on the offensive line. Hopefully, they're out there evaluating these left tackles and probably talking to them now that they have some free time on their hands. But for sure, it is a very healthy position when you look at a team and you have all your draft picks signed more than 30 days out from training camp. That's huge. That's really huge. And I'm very, very glad to see that. The last one who got signed was Brandon Coleman, who is our projected starter at left tackle. And it'll be very interesting to see, does he win the job or do we bring somebody else in?
Yep, I agree totally.
So that brings us to our thing, and I called this a few weeks ago, that when McManus, Brandon McManus was released on sexual harassment charges, that we were going to probably
Crazy,
the good ideas instead of just going out and get a free agent kicker. I said we
Coach
should
Mike?
probably look at the UFL.
Was that crazy, Coach Mike? I mean, seriously, what is that boy doing? Unbelievable what these guys do with all that money and all that fame, and then they go out and do some stupid thing like that.
Well, some of these guys think that they live above reality and they get bit, right?
Unbelievable.
But to me, he's come from Jacksonville. McManus was, and we basically swapped because that's where we sent Joey Slyer, our kicker. So we basically swapped kickers. I'm not a huge fan of that anyway. I would have rather kept Joey Sly, but regardless.
Yeah.
We went out to go get McManus.
He was good for us. Why did they get rid of him, Coach Mad Mike?
I have no idea. I mean, I know like Shaq wasn't real big on him and some other people weren't real big on him. I thought he was a tough dude. I thought he worked fine.
He's not. He did good. What was his problem?
There was no problem there. I mean, he wasn't like the a top tier kicker, but he's a kicker. But that opened the door for us to go for things. And one of the things I called a few weeks ago is when that door opened was, why not look at the UFL? I think I said it first, man, before anybody else was talking about it. Why don't we look at the UFL?
Down to you. You called it like you called so many things. You called the UFL's coming to town. You called it. And Shaq even said the Lions won the UFL kickoff battle.
He did. But I remember when Shaq was on the station, he was reading off free agent kickers, and I was just like, I think we ought to look at the UFL, mainly because of the changes to the kickoff rules.
Right.
We use the same kickoff rules now that's going to be introduced this year for the first time, and that's been the system that's ran within the UFL and the previous XFL type system.
Yeah, so it makes sense, right? That they go get people that are used to kicking in that system. It makes sense.
You get used to kicking that system. They can kick field goals. I mean, I've been very, very high on Jake Bates because Jake Bates is a guy that just flat out was nailing 60-plus yarders, won a game-winning 64-yarder. And now their team lost.
Looks like my Lions are going to get him.
And it looks like the Lions are going to get him. So I know your Lions are going to look at getting him. You're getting a great guy. But that was the guy that I was saying that if there was a guy to go out and get, you go out and get this guy. And I think I said it first, right?
Yeah, you did. You absolutely – you called it 2 weeks before it was even in the news. Like you called it before it was even a thing on the internet. You called it.
Right. So one of the things that I think that's important off of this is that, the UFL kind of kicker system, like that's going to be the going buzz right now. Right. So we signed kicker Ramiz Ahmed because he comes from that system as well. And okay, we got it. He can kick the field goals. He understands that. We brought him in for the rules. But I think we brought him in because we need somebody at the latter part of OTAs and we needed somebody for mandatory minicamp. I'm not so convinced that he's going to be our kicker come week 1. I think we're going to bring in some more competition. There's another UFL kicker we're taking a look at, and that's Andre Smits, who played for Syracuse. But in the UFL last year, he played for the St. Louis Battlehawks. And again, he's a guy who knows the rules. He knows the system. He's another guy that they'll bring in for camp competition. I'm interested to see what teams do around the league because, believe me, if Jake Bates wins the job in Detroit, what are they going to do at Badgley that they just did when they re-signed him to a contract? If he hits the street,
they're going to cut him and take a loss. They're going to cut him and take a loss.
And if they do, will the Commanders go after Badgley? I mean, what do you guys think? If you're the fans out there, give us your comments. What do you think? Get the fingers working. Send us your comments. Do you think we should go after Badgley if the Lions let him go?
Couple comments, Coach Ed Mike.
Yeah, let me hear him.
Ginger saying you're spot on. Shaq is saying the Skins need to be looking at the Birmingham Stallions team for an O-lineman.
Okay.
What's your comment to that, Coach Bad Mike?
Well, Birmingham Stallions are the new champs of the UFL. So I'm very curious on who they have as O-lineman over there. I have not really deep dived the Birmingham Stallions, but now that everybody's available to be signed, this is the time where everybody's looking. Like if you're a GM and you're sleeping right now, you're not doing your job. And I imagine Adam Peters is looking at all those guys because I kind of agree with Shaq. I kind of agree with some of the other comments that I've heard out there. Like if you think we're done on the O-line, I mean, I would be shocked that Adam Peters isn't looking around. I mean, I just find it hard to believe that he wouldn't be with everything that we've seen him do so far.
Yeah.
I am not convinced that Cornelius Lucas and Brandon Coleman are the answer at left tackle.
It's just so sad. Isn't it, Coach Mad Mike, that the lost tackle didn't make it? It's just so sad. I had a lot of hope for him.
Tackle. For those of y'all who are new fans to the show, go back and research on us and you look at our other videos and our channel about the lost tackle and you'll get what we're talking about.
That guy tried so hard, Coach Mad Mike. He tried hard.
I love it. So anyway, that's the primary news that I have for the Washington Commanders on this episode here. I want to turn it over. Do we have any last comments from fans and stuff out there in the Ethernet?
Come on,
how about
fans, if you have a question, log in, ask us a question. I'll punt it to Coach Mad Mike so you can get your answers.
Yeah, plug those in. Get those fingers working if you got a question out there. I will tell you, I do appreciate everybody who's been on the show. I do appreciate everybody. We're only going to grow as a channel from here. And live streaming is just kind of like the same thing with doing a YouTube channel. Like it'll start off slow and then we'll grow from there. And I tell you what, I do appreciate you guys can always say you were part of the premiere of the live stream thing that you actually participated in it.
So Shaq's got a comment there, Coach Mad Mike. He says, as far as kickers, Detroit's kicker Badgley was solid. What brings the kicker into question is why did Dan Campbell choose to go for it instead of the kicks? I got you. I love you. You're right. Dan Campbell's an idiot. He should have kicked the ball.
He was using those mysterious analytics that were out there that was telling him he should go for it in those positions. And it bit him. And he did it twice in that game.
Campbell blew a Super Bowl appearance. Not saying that it beat the Chiefs. Yeah. Just saying they could have beat San Francisco if it had.
So they were in two positions where, because they lost that game by 3 points, right? And they left 6 points on the field as far as I'm concerned. So they had a chance to tie it up and went for it and kept their team behind. Then they had a chance again to try to tie it up, went for it and was going for the win and blew it again. Like you left 6 points out on the field. You can't do that, especially when you're in there and you got the Super Bowl on the line. But, that's history now. We'll see if Dan Campbell learned from his lessons. He's always been that way, so I don't think he'll change. Badgley, though, I will tell you, in the offseason, he was due for a contract and re-signed with the team, which makes it more interesting that they would then go after Jake Bates. Why would you do that? Why would you go after Jake Bates in a situation like that if you just signed Badgley? I understand he's the buzz. He was the number one kicker in the UFL. But that being said, Jake Bates has not actually signed, even though all signs are pointing that he's going to the Detroit Lions. My question is do they take the loss and does Badgley hit the street? Because there's going to be teams that might go after him. Badgley's a good kicker. He's a really good kicker.
I'm not going to call him a really good kicker, Coach Mad Mike, but he's definitely serviceable, right? He's dependable. He's better than 80%. He had a couple bad years beforehand. When he came to the Lions, his stats improved. But they were looking at the overall stats, and that's why Campbell did not rely on him, because his overall stats had him like 0.02396784
whatever it was,
behind
right?
going forward on fourth down would have been, which is ridiculous. He should have gone with momentum and should have put his faith in that leg. And that's what cost him. Twice it cost him.
Yeah.
I'd have done it all day, every day, on Sunday, 14 times on Wednesday, 13 times on Thursday, and at least twice on Monday. I'd have done that.
Yeah.
I would have not listened to the stats. I would have gone with the momentum of the game and put that ball through the uprights.
So I do have a video I'd like to share with some people here real quick, since we have quite a few viewers on now. This was, if for those of you who've been following the team, punter Tress Way gave up his jersey number to Jaden Daniels, the number 5 jersey that he's worn for a decade. But because Jaden Daniels is a new face of the franchise now, he chose to give up his number as a good Samaritan and say, hey, listen, we're going to let you use the number that you played with pretty much your whole life. We're going to let you have your number. And he'll go with a different number. Everybody's been speculating on what's Tress Way's new number going to be.
Ooh.
Like, who pays attention to a punter? Well, apparently everybody's paying attention to Tress Way because he is a Pro Bowl punter. But because he gave this up, he has kept himself in the news because he refuses to pick a number. And so they ask him again. They pressure him because they see him in practice. He's wearing the number 10 jersey just to have a number out there to do. But this is what he had to say. You guys check this out.
A question mark?
This ought to be good.
A question mark?
I tried to go with a question mark. That was my wife's idea. She's like, just throw everybody for a loop. Because I think the first day that I wore New Jersey out, you guys were all out here too. So my wife was like, Bree was like, just wear a freaking question mark and just throw everybody. Because I didn't really know. And I don't hate that. You know, like, I feel like it looks different in the practice jersey. But when we did our media day in the game jersey, it looked pretty good.
So did you do media day in the game jersey in 10?
I did it in 10, but they had me do poses, if you'll believe this, in such a way that it's easy to Photoshop. So, I mean, I kind of dig that. Like, it's I've reached that level. I'll take it. Yeah.
To make a decision by?
I mean, clearly by week 1. That I really have to have my number solidified by week 1. But probably that last week of preseason and into the regular season, it'll be locked and loaded. Yeah.
You've been here for a lot of June 12th or whatever day. How does this team stack up?
That's too funny, Coach Mad Mike.
Yeah.
He's doing poses.
Just like every other June 12th, we are playing each other. But I think the mental side of this team's June 12th versus any other team I've ever been a part of, everything is so on purpose.
So there's a few things I did. Like you zoomed in on something I didn't think you would zoom in on. What I actually thought that you would like focus on was he came out there and said that he wanted to wear a question mark on his jersey. A big old question mark. He didn't want to have a jersey number, and his wife was trying to put him up to it. Like, just go out there and wear a question mark. I thought that was so freaking hilarious. Like, so freaking hilarious. Like, wear a question mark. Oh my gosh, I really wish he would have done it. He'd been the first person in the NFL to ever wear a question mark on his jersey.
Would the league even allow it?
I don't think so. It's got to be
Mike. Shaq has a question for you.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. I gotta brush through my hair and have a sip of whiskey before I ask you this one. Hold a second.
Oh my goodness, is that juicy?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
This is a big question, Coach Mad Mike.
Yeah, I'll wait for it.
We're all waiting to hear your answer on this because we know you have the knowledge. You ready? You ready?
All right, let me hear it.
How come there's never been a punter on the cover of Madden? What a great question!
A punter?
A punter?
God, that's worse than saying a player.
Punter? What do you mean a punter?
A punter on the cover of Madden? Come on, man. Man,
Playoffs?
for real. I mean, that's wow. Punter? A punter?
Has there ever, Coach Mad Mike, in your opinion, has there ever been a punter in the NFL that was deserving? Somebody, I mean, a punter doesn't score points. You only get on the cover of Madden by scoring points. So a punter can't. ever, I don't think, be on the cover of Madden, right?
There's been some great punters in the history of the league, but like, unless you're a fan of that team, you don't know who they are. I mean, they're not iconic. They're not faces of franchises,
Right.
They're just not, right? So, like, the
Well,
cover of
maybe
Madden
back in
this
the
year,
50s and the 40s when people played multiple positions, maybe, right?
yeah, because like Sammy Ball back in the day, which we retired his number
Right.
33 of the Washington Redskins back in the day, like he played offense, defense, and special teams. Like he punted
Right.
the ball too, right? But but he's known for doing everything. He's not
But in
known
the
for being a
modern
punter.
game, it's just not going to ever happen.
Yeah, in modern, punter, a punter. Come on,
A punter, a punter.
punter.
Jack,
But
what
no,
are you talking about?
I thought Shaq was asking a real question, man. Come on now.
No,
Punter
the
on
only
Madden,
people that
that
are
would be
ever going
funny,
to
though.
appear on a Madden cover are people that are MVP level and high scorers.
Yeah, so like the cover of Madden this year at 25, it's going to be Christian McCaffrey. So you're talking about a guy that's for a very, very long time has excelled at the position. And when I looked at everybody he was going up against, I'm just like, oh, it's Christian McCaffrey. Like I kind of made that choice even before they announced the cover because I saw the top 5 candidates and his resume blew away the other 4. So I'm just like, oh, it's clearly going to be Christian McCaffrey. So
right.
like, it
Coach
makes
Man Mike, Ginger's got a good point here. She's got a good point for this argument for Shaq, for punter being on the cover of Madden. What about the guy who tackled Deion Sanders?
Yeah. Oh, that was a good one. I think he's out of the
Referring
league
back
now.
to the short you just posted on that. Like the most insane tackle ever when Deion thought he was going to run into the end zone, was highballing and high-flying, doing his thing, thought he was free, and he got zapped by the punter.
Yeah, and the best part I like about that short with Deion Sanders was he had previously made an interview that said if he ever did a kickoff and punt return and broke one, he never worries about who the kicker or punter is. He knows he's already got the touchdown. And after he made that interview is when he got tackled, and he did not get the punt return for the touchdown. It is a thing of beauty. Mr. Primetime is a thing of beauty. Ginger, what a great question.
Danny White.
And but he's out of the league. I mean, that was back when Deion played for the Cowboys. I mean, that was a long time ago.
But she's got a great point. She made a great point there.
Yeah, and that guy, that wasn't the only big play that he made as a punter. Like that guy made some or not game necessarily, but touchdown saving tackles. Yeah. He did more than one. He did like 3 or 4 in his career that were pretty significant.
Actually, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing. But he would get after it.
We need to run
I think that
Coach Mad Mike and see if he's like the all-time punter tackling return for saving return punter thing. Right.
And I will tell you, like, one of the greatest things I like about that is that's Mr. Prime Time, and all the trash that he used to talk, because he used to go up against Jerry Rice a lot. He used to go up against a lot of other guys.
Embarrassing. You got tackled by a punter.
Oh, you got tackled by a punter. I could not let it go. I had to make a short video on that just to remind everybody's attention, like, hey, come on, even the greatest. And because he's like, it's not even really that disputed that he's probably the greatest corner to ever play the game. I mean,
all right, so Ginger's saying that Madden should do a prior greats against the current players. So Madden does do that, Ginger. They do have you buy cards and do all this fun stuff in there, and you can get your, what do they call it? Ultimate Team?
Ultimate Team, right?
Ultimate Team. So Madden's been doing that for a number of years.
It's
not going to never do that. We just play the team as they are. We don't do the Ultimate Team because it's kind of like
Yeah, it's pay to play kind of thing. It's called MUT, Madden Ultimate Team, and you can kind of build a legacy kind of team to do that. But it's like it's very interesting how they go about working that and doing that. But I don't play that way either. I mean, you can dump a lot of money into it, and the game's already expensive enough. I try to keep the teams authentic and try to play like the Commanders' real roster and try to battle it out that way and see how well they match up in the game and whether or not I could actually outperform the Commanders in real life. Yeah. Is typically what I typically do, which I always do.
So for everyone listening tonight, Coach Mad Mike and I are going to jump into Madden. What we're starting, we're going to make it hard. I'm going to be the offensive coordinator. He's going to be defensive coordinator. We're going to start with Army in college and build Army up, which, if you know anything about Madden, is going to be not easy. It's going to be crazy difficult because they have no players.
Well,
and they have no
technically
chance to
not
draft
Madden.
anyone good.
Yeah, well, it's technically not Madden, even though it's the Madden framework. It's technically EA Sports College Football 25, which is built on basically the platform of Madden, right? But
then
Madden
take our draft class from the Army and import them in to the Lions, where Coach Mad Mike's going to be the Lions DC and I'm going to be the OC, and we're going to try to win and build a Super Bowl winning franchise with a seed team being the Army, which should be
well, this is the Commanders Edition report, right? So this isn't a Lions Edition report, but yeah, when we normally play Madden, we do that, because that's what he has me down. Now, what I do for the Commanders Edition, we'll see what we do on this one. I'm trying to figure out, and I'm very interested in your guys' comments, because I typically will play the Commanders franchise. I do it every year.
How many seasons did you do last year, Coach Mad Mike?
I did 30 seasons. I really ran it over a 2-year period from Madden 23. It was a challenge because the max amount of seasons that you could do within Madden is 30. And I decided 2 years ago to go on a quest to try to do it, to see if it was real and play the game to its conclusion. And I did 30 games, and I was actually retired.
And they kicked you out.
Yeah, they retired me. They retired me.
You won too much.
So actually what they said was true. You get 30 seasons and that's it. So
how many seasons were winning seasons, Coach Mad Mike? How many
seasons they were all winning seasons.
Every single one?
Every single one.
Unbelievable.
And that's with the roster turning over a couple of times. And this one's going to be a lot harder. It's going to be a lot harder to run this one to ground because, I'm going to go with my alma mater, Liberty, at College Football 25 and import it in there. I might try to sim some of those games and post them on here, just kind of do some sims. If you guys are interested in that, put it in the comments.
That'd be cool.
And we'll sim games before they happen. I might have a separate profile to do simulations. And that way
we compare the simulation to how the real game went.
That's right.
Oh, I love it.
We might be the sportscasters. We might turn the volume down and we be the sportscasters.
Oh, and call the game that we're doing. Oh, love it. I love that idea.
And then we
you think if that's what you would like to watch watch us playing Madden Sims and then being the commentators for Madden Sims and seeing how that goes. Let us know in the comments if you think that'd be cool.
Yeah, I think it would be really cool. But yeah, you guys let us know if that's something that you would want to watch and see. And then we would do our post-game analysis after the regular Sunday and see how close we were.
All right, Shaq has a fact for us on Army. You ready for this, Coach Mad Mike?
Go for it.
He says, fun fact, Army had players that were prospects in the last 6 drafts, but they couldn't go to the league because they had to fulfill their obligation as officers for 8 years. Interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I know it's been like for all the service academies, because I know Navy had a lot of really good teams and we're doing that for a while. And so it's always been a debatable argument, right? Because there's a couple of different things when it comes to service academies that you have to look at. And one is when it comes to offensive, defensive lines about how big these guys can get, right?
Yeah.
Because they have to make height and weight when they get commissioned. And none of those guys do. So the question would be do they attract the higher quality offensive lineman and defensive lineman, even though it's a free education? They're going to get a free education where they go anyway. So the service academies are not going to attract them. So they usually run a veer type offense in service academies because they don't have the offensive line to protect the quarterback.
They don't have the brief. They don't have the brief.
So they usually try to win by speed and trickery in a running game.
Right.
And sometimes that works. More often than not, it doesn't really, but there's no better solution that you can really go about doing it. But there are players that emerge that are draft eligible, that are quality guys that could make it in the NFL. And sometimes
you can't have a 315-pound, 6'4", guy in the military academy. That just doesn't fly because you can't pass the PT test.
Yeah, you can't pass the height weight. So But the big thing about these guys when they wavered them for a while. They've been back and forth about having memorandums where they were giving exceptions to policy to be able to do that.
Really?
And there's also been situations in the past where they've been able to allow people to either defer their service obligation or to be in a reserve type status where they can make up a majority of their drill days and advanced training in the off season.
Interesting.
And that's allowed them to do some things. So it's been kind of interesting how the service academies has worked on that. But overall, when it comes to Army and the other service academies, when they come into the league, they've always got that thing hanging over their head, right? And a lot of times you never really know from one graduating class to another if the rules are changed and they just shut them down and say, no, you can't go in the NFL. And that's, to me, that's disadvantageous for one in recruiting to that school if you're a football player, and two, to the person who's like, hey, I'll serve, just like give me this opportunity first.
Right.
Like football is a short shelf life anyway.
Yeah. Well, it would totally ruin the career, right? Because if they went football, they're not going back. They're not going to go to active duty.
Well, the majority of those guys don't go active duty anyway.
Really? I didn't know that.
Not the big football players that are usually really good. Most of them don't. They'll do reserve time for a while, and they don't usually stay very long. You'll be surprised. Some of them that clearly are not NFL caliber kind of players that are part of the football teams. Yeah, they end up going on to be special forces, Rangers guys, all that kind of stuff like that. They do really well once they get their weight in check, But some of those guys have serious height weight issues, which can, can affect their career. So there's,
that makes sense.
But actually, when I worked in the Pentagon, I actually worked when I was on the air staff for a guy that was an Air Force general who played linebacker for the Air Force Academy.
Really?
Yeah, and he was very, very big. So I came by him a couple of times. I was like, "Go Army!" He's like, "Were you a West Point guy?" I'm like, "No." He goes, "Well, shut up." So I didn't say anything more to him after that.
Oh my God, it was a big boy, huh?
Yeah, I mean, he was pretty solid dude. I wouldn't say real big, but
that's funny. Oh, that's funny.
He was big. He was a big Air Force football guy. But anyway, back on the Washington Commanders. Hey, you got any other questions from the community out there?
I've got nothing else. It looks like our community is out there. Listen to every one of you, Ginger, Shaq. Who else we got? We got David out there. We got Serenity out there. And we appreciate you staying on with us tonight. We'll be back on next Monday with the next edition, live cast. That's how we're going to do the Commanders edition from now on. It's going to be a live cast. So we'll be on every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We sure appreciate you coming on and joining us tonight.
All right. Yeah, we appreciate it. And believe me, even though that the teams are taking time off and ramping up for training camp, believe me, for anybody who knows anything about the Washington Commanders and their historic franchise, we are never short of drama. So I have no doubt in my mind we're going to have plenty to report on next week, and we're going to have a great show. So we welcome you all back. Invite somebody to come join you. We're going to keep our fan base engaged and have a really good show next week. Until then, guys, this is Football Psych, and we are out of here.
Ouch!